The sound of glass shattering split the night. A crystal tumbler, flung across the room, exploded against the marble floor, shards scattering like tiny diamonds. Alina froze where she stood, breath caught in her throat, her pulse racing faster than the storm hammering the mansion. Windows. Her father's voice roared over the silence. You will not shame this family, Alina. Do you hear me? Not with him. For a moment, Alina thought her knees might give out. She clenched her fists at her sides, forcing her voice not to tremble. I love him, father. Nothing you say will change that. The room seemed to shrink around them, her father's towering figure at one end, Alina trembling but defiant at the other, and between them, the man at the center of it all, Armin, the driver. His uniform shirt was still damp from the rain. Dark curls plastered against his forehead. He stood just inside the doorway, his chest rising and falling, his eyes fixed on Alina like she was the only anchor keeping him from drifting into darkness. Her father's lip curled. A driver, Alina. He drives my car. He wears a uniform. He lives off scraps, and you would throw away everything for him. Armand's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He didn't defend himself, didn't look away. He simply stood, steady and silent. A man out of place in a world of chandeliers and silk curtains. Alina's heart thudded painfully. She wanted to scream, to beg her father to see what she saw, but her father's words were a wall, cold and immovable. Get out, he ordered sharply, eyes burning into Armand. Out of my house. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Rain lashed against the windows, lightning turned the world white, and the silence between them was unbearable. Then, slowly, with dignity that made Alina's chest ache, Armand lowered his gaze and stepped back into the hallway. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Her father's shoulders heaved with fury. If you think I will stand by while my daughter destroys this family name, you are mistaken. You'll marry someone worthy of you. A man with a title, a future, not a nobody who fetches keys. Alina's voice broke, but her words didn't. He is not nobody, not to me. Her father turned away, his reflection a dark silhouette in the rain-streaked window that night. Alina sat alone in her room staring at the storm. Her thoughts were a tangled knot of fear, longing, and anger. She knew what people whispered about her life, a perfect order in a perfect house, living a perfect dream. But behind the marble walls, her heart ached with a secret that could destroy everything that, and if you're listening now, leaning in, wondering where this storm of a story leads, pause for just a second. If you haven't yet subscribed, you'll want to. Because every twist, every breath, every choice that follows will drag you deeper into Alina and Armand's forbidden love. 2 days before that violent confrontation, things had felt different. Alina sat in the back seat of her father's sleek black car, city lights blurring against rain-streaked glass. Her head rested against the window as she tried to keep her mood heavy, sulking over yet another suffocating dinner party. But then Armand spoke, his voice quiet, smooth as the hum of the engine. You know, sulking doesn't suit you. Her lips twitched before she could stop them. You're not supposed to make me laugh when I'm sulking. In the rearview mirror, his eyes flicked toward her for just a second, dark and steady, then maybe sulk quieter. A laugh slipped out, betraying her. She leaned forward, gripping the back of his seat. You're impossible. You're the one smiling, he murmured, eyes returning to the road. Warmth bloomed inside her. The storm outside blurred the city into streaks of silver and gray. But here, in the quiet space of the car, Alina felt safe, grounded. His presence was like a tether, steady and sure. And in that moment, she knew she was falling. Their story had been building long before she admitted it. Small things, subtle things. The way he held the car door open just a little longer, and their fingers brushed like sparks. The quiet rides home where silence felt less like absence and more like something waiting to be spoken. He never crossed the line. His words were careful, his gaze respectful, but the air between them vibrated with the truth both of them felt but neither dared. Confessed on until one night Alina couldn't sleep. She wandered to the balcony, barefoot, wrapped in a shawl against the chill. Below, in the driveway, Armand wiped the rain off the car with steady strokes. His shirt clung to him, damp, his movements quiet, deliberate. Armand, she called softly. He looked up, startled, his hand frozen on the hood of the car. Lightning flickered, catching the sharp lines of his face. Why do you always act like you don't see me? She asked. He hesitated. Then, in a voice low and certain, he said, because it's safer that way. For who? For both of us. Your father would never forgive me. Her breath caught. In that one moment, the silence they'd been carrying broke. His words told her everything. He felt it too. Now, hours after her father had thrown glass across the room, Alina lay awake with those words echoing in her chest. He would never forgive us. The storm outside roared on, lightning tearing the sky apart, and Alina realized the storm inside her life had only just begun. The storm dragged through the night, but morning came anyway, gray, heavy, and unwilling. Alina's eyes burned from lack of sleep as she sat by her window, staring at the driveway below. The car was gone. Armand hadn't come for his usual shift. Her chest tightened, each breath heavier than the last. She pressed her forehead to the cold glass, searching the empty space where he always stood waiting, leaning against the car. Quiet, composed, a presence she could rely on. But now, only rain-soaked pavement remained. A knock at her door startled her. Alina, her father's voice boomed, muffled but sharp. "Come down for breakfast." She closed her eyes, fighting the sting of tears. She couldn't face him, not after last night, not after the words he'd hurled like knives. But she forced herself up. She couldn't let him see her break. The dining hall smelled of coffee and toasted bread, sunlight fighting through thick curtains. Her father sat at the head of the long mahogany table, newspaper folded beside him, a knife slicing into a pear with clinical precision. "Alina," he said without looking up, "you'll accompany me tonight. The governor's son will be there. It's time you stopped playing games." Her hand froze halfway to her teacup. "You've already chosen for me." His eyes lifted at last, cool and unyielding. "A man of standing, a future secured, unlike your distraction." She set the cup down, her voice thin but steady. "His name is Arman." Her father's expression didn't change. "It doesn't matter what his name is. He's gone, and that's the end of it." Elena's throat burned. She wanted to scream, to demand where Arman was, if her father had sent him away, if he was safe. But she bit her tongue, knowing the walls had ears, and her father's word was law inside them. She excused herself quickly, her heart pounding with a single thought: "I have to find him." That afternoon, she slipped out of the mansion. No driver, no escorts, just her, wrapped in a plain shawl. Walking into the city streets she'd only ever seen from behind tinted glass, the air was thick with the scent of fried food and wet earth. Vendors called out. Children ran barefoot through puddles, laughter echoing between narrow alleys. This was Arman's world, the world her father dismissed as beneath them. Elena's shoes soaked through within minutes, but she didn't care. She asked strangers, described him in hushed desperation. Some shook their heads, some pointed further down the road. Finally, at the edge of a quiet street lined with small workshops, she saw him. Arman stood outside a modest garage, sleeves rolled up, grease smudged across his hands. He was bent over an engine, brows furrowed in focus. But when he looked up and saw her, his face shifted. Surprise, then worry, then something he couldn't mask fast enough. "Alina," he breathed, stepping forward quickly. "What are you doing here?" "You can't. I had to see you." Her words tumbled out, raw. I thought my father had sent you away." His jaw tightened. He glanced around, making sure no one was listening, then lowered his voice. "He tried, but I couldn't just disappear without telling you." Her chest ached with relief and fear all at once. "Then why didn't you come this morning?" "Why didn't you?" "Because it's too dangerous now," he cut in, his voice rough. "Your father's watching everything. He's already threatened me. If he catches us like this, let him catch us." Alina snapped, tears welling. "I don't care anymore, Arman. I can't live like this pretending you're just the driver." "Pretending I don't." He caught her wrist suddenly, his grip gentle but firm. His eyes burned into hers. "Don't say it. Not here. Not like this." Her breath shook, but silence couldn't hold her anymore. "I love you," she whispered. The words hung between them, fragile and unstoppable. Arman's hand trembled against her skin. He closed his eyes, as though the confession was both everything he wanted and everything he feared. "Alina." His voice broke on her name. "You don't understand what this means. If your father finds out, he already knows," she said bitterly. "He knows, and he hates you for it. But I don't. I can't stop what I feel." For a long moment, neither moved. The world around them seemed to pause, the noise of the street fading, the storm clouds thinning, the air holding its breath. Then, slowly, he let go of her wrist. His shoulders sagged, but his gaze never left hers. "If we do this, there's no turning back. Are you ready for that?" Her heart thundered, but her voice was steady. "I've never been more ready." Back at the mansion, her father sat in his study, cigar smoke curling above his chair. A man in a dark suit leaned against the desk, speaking quietly. "She went into the city," the man reported. Her father's eyes narrowed, the ash of his cigar glowing red. "And she found him." For a moment, silence. Then her father crushed a cigar into the ashtray, jaw tight. "Enough of this nonsense. If she won't listen, then I'll make sure she never sees him again." The man nodded, disappearing into the shadows of the hall. Her father poured himself a drink, the amber liquid swirling in the glass. His reflection in the window was cold, immovable. "She thanked me one day," he muttered to himself, but the storm outside was far from over, and neither was the one inside his house. Night fell heavy over the mansion, swallowing the gardens in darkness. Elena's heart pounded as she slipped back through the side gate, her shawl damp from the mist, her hair clinging to her neck. She had seen him, she had spoken the words, and now there was no going back. Her footsteps echoed faintly in the marble hall, but before she could climb the stairs, her father's voice cut through the silence. "Where have you been?" She froze. He was waiting in the shadows of the corridor, his figure framed by the glow of a single lamp. His glass of brandy glimmered amber in the light. "I asked you a question, Alina." Her lips parted, excuses tumbling at the edge of her tongue, but none came. She didn't need to speak, her silence was enough. His jaw clenched, his voice a low growl. "With him again?" Her throat tightened. "Yes." The glass in his hand cracked under the force of his grip. He set it down on the table, his movements deliberate, too calm, Do you understand what you're throwing away? Every door I have opened for you, every future I have built ruined by a foolish obsession with a man who has nothing." Her chest heaved. "He has more than you will ever understand. He has honor, kindness, dignity, things no money can buy." Her father's eyes flashed. "He's a driver. And I love him," she said, her voice shaking but loud enough to pierce the walls. The words rang through the corridor. Her father's face hardened into something unrecognizable, cold stone. Pride twisted into fury. He didn't yell. He didn't strike. He simply turned and walked away, and that terrified her more than his anger. The next morning, Armand didn't come to the garage. Alina waited, pacing her room until the walls seemed to close in. She couldn't eat, couldn't think. By midday, she couldn't stand it anymore. She left the mansion again, slipping into the city streets. But when she reached the workshop, it was empty. The tools were neatly stacked, the car hood closed, the silence unsettling. She asked a boy sweeping outside, "The man who works here, Armand, do you know where he went?" The boy shrugged. "Men came for him this morning, told him to pack his things." Her stomach dropped. "Where? Ow!" He shook his head, sweeping harder, avoiding her eyes. Elena's hands trembled. Her father, this had his mark all over it. She stumbled back into the street, heart pounding, tears threatening to spill. If her father had forced him out, if he had sent him away, what then? Her mind raced. She couldn't stay trapped behind those gates any longer. She needed to see him, needed to know he was safe. That night, as silence blanketed the house, Alina slipped out once more. She moved like a shadow, heart hammering with every creak of the floorboards. She carried nothing but her shawl and the resolve burning in her chest that at the far edge of the city, she finally found him. Armand sat on a wooden bench outside a dimly lit station, a single suitcase at his feet. His shoulders were hunched, his head bowed. "Armand," she whispered, breathless. His head snapped up. His eyes widened, disbelief flashing across his face before relief softened it. He stood quickly, reaching for her as though afraid she would vanish. "Alina, what are you doing here? You can't, you were leaving," she choked out. "Without saying goodbye." His jaw tightened, pain flickering in his eyes. "Your father left me no choice. He made it very clear if I stay, he'll destroy me. And you, I couldn't risk it." She grabbed his hands, holding them against her chest. "Then take me with you." His breath caught. "Alina, I mean it," she whispered fiercely. "I'd rather live with nothing and have you, than stay in that house with everything and have nothing at all." The station bell rang in the distance. His grip on her hands tightened, torn between longing and fear. "If you step onto that train with me, you'll never go back. Your father will disown you." She lifted her chin, tears glistening but voice steady. "Then let him. I choose you." But before he could answer, the sound of boots echoed across the platform. Men in dark coats stepped out of the shadows, moving fast, their eyes fixed on Armand. Armand pushed Alina behind him instantly. "Stay back," he muttered. One of the men spoke coldly. "Orders from the master. You don't get on that train." Alina's heart stopped. "No," she cried. "Leave him alone." Armand's fists clenched, his body tense. He was ready to fight, but there were too many of them. Elena's hands shook as she clung to his arm, desperation burning in her chest. Her father's shadow loomed over everything even here in the dead of night, on a platform miles from the mansion. The men stepped closer, and the whistle of the train screamed in the distance. The shriek of the approaching train split the night, metal grinding on tracks, echoing through the empty station. Smoke hissed into the air, swallowing the dim platform lights. Armand's body shielded Alina, his hands balled into fists. The men, in dark coats, closed in, their movements precise, cold, purposeful. They weren't here to talk, they were here to drag him away. One of them stepped forward. "You come with us quietly." Elena's voice broke as she cried out, "No, leave him alone." She tried to push past, but Armand held her back with one arm, his chest rising and falling like a cornered lion. "Go back to the mansion," he whispered urgently. "If they hurt me, your father won't touch you. Please go." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm not leaving you." The men moved faster. Armand swung first. His fist connected with the nearest man's jaw, sending him stumbling back. Another lunged forward, grabbing Armand's arm, but Armand twisted, slamming his elbow into the man's ribs. Alina screamed as the platform erupted into chaos, grunts, shouts, the clang of bodies hitting steel. But there were too many. One of them shoved Armand against the wall, pinning his arm behind his back. Another grabbed Alina by the wrist, yanking her away. She kicked, screamed, nails clawing, but his grip was iron. "Let her go." Armand roared, thrashing against his captors. His voice cracked with rage, desperation. Elena's cry tore from her chest. "Armand!" The train screeched to a halt, its doors sliding open with a hiss. Passengers glanced out, startled by the scene unfolding, but no one dared intervene. It was a world where money and power silenced strangers. One of the men leaned close to Armand's ear. "Your mistake was forgetting your place." His words were like venom. Armand spat blood to the ground, his voice raw. "My only mistake was loving her." Elena's heart shattered, and then a sudden voice, sharp, familiar enough. Everyone froze. From the shadows at the far end of the platform, Elena's father stepped forward, His tailored coat caught the dim light, his expression carved from stone. He dismissed the men with a flick of his hand, and they released Armand instantly, though their glares lingered. Alina stumbled forward, rushing into Armand's arms. Her father's presence sucked the air from the station. He stood tall, immovable, his eyes dark as the storm that still rumbled faintly in the distance. Alina, his voice was calm, but every syllable carried authority. Come with me now. She clung tighter to Armand, her tears soaking his shirt. No, I won't. Her father's gaze cut to Armand, cold and merciless. You will let her go. If you truly care for her, you'll step aside before you destroy her life. Armand held Alina tighter, his breath trembling against her hair. Her life is hers to choose. A dangerous silence stretched, the hiss of the train, the shuffle of uneasy passengers, the dripping of rain, all of it seemed to pause. Her father's lips curved into something between a sneer and sorrow. Do you think love is enough? Boy, you think it feeds her, protects her, builds a future for her? No, love fades. Poverty doesn't. Alina pulled away just enough to meet her father's eyes. Her voice shook, but the fire in it was undeniable. Love doesn't fade, not when it's real, and I would rather be poor with him than rich and empty without him. For the first time, her father's mask slipped. Pain flickered in his eyes, quickly buried beneath anger. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Do you even know who he is? Alina blinked, confused. What do you mean? Armand stiffened, his arms tense around her. Her father's gaze locked on him. Tell her or I will. Armand's breath hitched. Alina turned, searching his face. What is he talking about? Armand's eyes darted away, shadows crossing his expression. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, Alina, not here, not like this. Her father's voice thundered through the platform. The truth. Armand. Alina's heart raced. She clutched his sleeve. Please tell me. Armand's silence was louder than the train's whistle. His eyes glistened, haunted, as though the weight of years pressed down on him. Her father's words cut through the air like a blade. He's been lying to you, Alina. He's not who you think he is. The platform seemed to tilt under her feet. She looked at Armand, waiting, pleading for denial, for explanation, for anything. But Armand said nothing, and the silence shattered her. Her father's men stepped forward again, waiting for the command. The train's whistle blew, echoing like a final warning. Alina's tears blurred the world. She wanted to run, to scream, to demand answers, but she was frozen between the man she loved and the father who had raised her. The storm wasn't over. It was only deepening. The platform trembled with the force of the train preparing to depart. Steam rising, whistles cutting sharp through the night. Alina's chest heaved as she stood between her father and Armand, the two men who had shaped her life in ways she didn't yet understand. Her father's voice was cold steel. He is not the man you think he is. Alina, he's been hiding his bloodline, his past. Ask him why he came into this house. Ask him what he really wanted. Her throat tightened. She turned to Armand, her fingers gripping his sleeve. Tell me it isn't true. Tell me he's lying. Armand's eyes brimmed with torment. He cupped her face gently, as though this touch might be his last. His voice was low, raw. I never lied about what I feel for you. But there are things I never told you, things I was afraid would change everything. Then tell me now, she begged, tears streaking her cheeks. He drew a sharp breath, glancing at her father's rigid stance before forcing the words out. My mother, she once worked in this mansion as a maid, and my father, his voice faltered. My father was one of the men your father trusted, until betrayal tore them apart. Alina's pulse quickened. Betrayal. Her father's voice cut in. Bitter. His father stole from me, embezzled, left me humiliated. And this boy has lived his whole life under that shame. I should have thrown him out the moment I saw his face. Armand's jaw clenched. I was a child. My father's sins are not mine. All I wanted was to prove myself, to stand on my own feet, to build a life honest and true. Alina staggered back, her mind spinning. The driver she loved, the man her father despised, carried the weight of an old wound she had never been told. Her father's tone softened, but only for her. Do you see now, Alina? This isn't love. This is history repeating itself. I won't let you tie yourself to a curse. Armand's hand found hers again, desperate. I never wanted revenge. I never wanted anything from your father. All I wanted was you. The whistle screamed. The train's doors began to close. Alina stood frozen, torn between blood and heart, between truth and longing. Her father's hand reached for her. Come home. Armand's eyes pleaded. Come with me. Her world split down the middle. For a heartbeat, the weight of both futures crushed her chest. And then she moved. She pulled her hand from her father's grip, stumbling into Armand's arms just as the train's final bell rang. Passengers gasped as the two of them leaped inside before the doors shut with a clang through the glass. Alina saw her father's face sashen with fury, then grief, then an unreadable stillness. His men held him back, but he didn't chase her. He only stood, smaller than she had ever seen him, watching as the train carried her away. The carriage rattled as the city blurred past in streaks of light and shadow. Alina clutched Armand's hand, her heart still racing. Did I just destroy everything? She whispered. Armand's gaze was steady, though his own hands trembled. No, you chose, and that makes all the difference. Tears spilled freely now, tears of fear, of loss, but also of release. She pressed her forehead to his chest, breathing in the scent of him, the solidity of him. For the first time, the walls of the mansion no longer caged her. Days turned into weeks. The two of them built a small life in a narrow apartment above a workshop, where Armand worked with engines and Alina learned to cook meals over a stove too small for her dreams. They shared laughter over burnt bread, held each other through nights of doubt, and kissed like every sunrise was a miracle. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Alina wrote letters to her father, though no reply came. She imagined him sitting in his study, cigar smoke curling, her words unopened on his desk. She wondered if he hated her or if somewhere beneath the stone he missed her. One evening, as twilight painted the sky gold, a knock came at their door. Armand opened it and froze. Her father stood there, older somehow, heavier with silence. He looked around the cramped room, the worn furniture, the simple life. His gaze lingered on Alina, then softened in a way she had never seen. "You're thinner," he murmured. Elena's throat tightened. "Father." His eyes shifted to Armand. For a long, unbearable moment, no one spoke. Then her father sighed, shoulders sinking. "I came to see if she was happy." His voice cracked, just slightly. Alina stepped forward, her hand finding Armand's. "I am, not because it's easy, but because it's true." Her father closed his eyes, as though the words pierced something deep. When he opened them again, there was no fury, only a weary kind of surrender. "I still don't forgive him," he said quietly, "but I won't stand in your way anymore." And for the first time, Alina saw it, not the unshakable patriarch, not the unyielding master, but a father, flawed and human, letting go. She crossed the room and embraced him. He stiffened, then, slowly, reluctantly, his arms wrapped around her when he left that night. The air in the little apartment felt lighter. Years later, Alina would remember that stormy night at the mansion, the broken glass, the shouting, the choice that split her world. She would remember standing at that platform, torn between past and future, and the moment she chose love. And she would smile because, no matter the cost, she had found her own life, her own truth, and her father's driver, the man once beneath her world, was now the center of it forever. And that was Elena's story. A daughter who defied her father, a man who carried the weight of his past, and a love that refused to bow to walls of marble or chains of pride. It wasn't easy, it wasn't clean, but it was real. Because sometimes the life we choose for ourselves is worth more than the one chosen for us. If this story moved you, don't let it be the last. Tap that subscribe button, so you'll always be here when the next tale begins. And if you've already subscribed, thank you for being part of this journey. Until the next story, hold on to love, even when the storm rages.